Hey everybody, it's Carpo's Corner again. No, I'm kidding. But negativity is today's issue. I'll get right to the point. I dink around in my videos too much before I get to the point. TrueRae has inspired me to make many videos lately because she is speaking from my heart, speaking from my inner soul. And I have so many things that I'd like to share that are positive. But she turned me to a different direction today by making a video about negativity. And it's something that I've tackled in the past, and I've made quite a few videos really about it. And obviously I talk about positivity a lot and the power of positivity, but I avoid the negativity side because by embracing negativity, we're manifesting negativity. That's my take on it. So therefore I just have this balance of, okay, how much do we acknowledge? And how much do we actually get angry about? Or is there healthy anger? So the one thing that I wanted to add to what TrueRae said was she mentioned how people can don't worry about worldly issues and worry about local, think globally, act locally kind of thing. Now I wanted to add to that there's a certain degree of world concern that we need to have. But the trick is to not be fearful of it, because fear is it's not the way, it's not conducive to a healthy lifestyle, first of all. But acknowledging the world's issues and the big things that are going on is so important, but not get tied up in it. The reason why I think it's important to think about them is because by thinking positive, we're adding a twist to it, and we're adding to the echo chamber, the resonance, the field, the energy field of positivity to try to change things. So by thinking about things that are important, thinking about the atmosphere, thinking about what's going on with groundwater pollution and the sky and the food, although they're things we can't do anything about, by putting the intent out into the world that you want them to change, then they will, hopefully. At least that's the idea. At the very least, we're making the effort. Now, on negativity, TrueRae really hit home when she talked about how people can have a certain degree of, well, let's say negativity becomes an obsession. At a certain point in life, you see the things that are going wrong in the world, and you want to change them, and at least some of us do. Now you see, this is the beauty of speaking in these videos, is that we all speak from the heart, but it doesn't mean that we're right, and it doesn't mean that we think anything alike, really, in our deep innermost thoughts. Although we may convey the same message, I guarantee that the way we think on our day-to-day activities is probably completely different. Every one of us, of course. So, negativity and fear are so tied in together, and it becomes what a person's brain does is when they find out something that's like a conspiracy. Let's say I don't want to get any specifics, but a person gets involved in something and they figure out that they've been wrong, they've been lied to, and they get angry about it, and the anger turns to fear. Sometimes the fear turns to anger, but the point is that it causes chemical changes within the body. It releases cortisol, which can cause you to gain weight, and constant use can actually damage the hippocampus of the brain. And long-term stress actually causes, premature aging and death. And so, being in a state of awareness and being in a state of fear are two different things. Being in a state of awareness of the world's issues and being concerned about them is what we do. The people that I'm talking about and the people that I speak with, here on this channel. People who are aware of this stuff, but there's a group of people online, because, well, she said that when she was on, TrueRae said that, she had gone through and looked at a bunch of videos, and that's what inspired me to do this. And how after she got to a point, she saw so much negativity and hate, and you know, every time I go to a controversial video, there's some negative comment about, you know, let me talk about the Zimmerman thing. I have nothing, I don't even pay attention to any political stuff. Like, people have made videos lately about the Zimmerman thing. I didn't even know who Zimmerman was until today. I had heard about the case a while back. I remember that. But I'm not involved at all in day-to-day local activities. Now, when the rioting started, you know, of course, now I've looked at it, and okay, this is the situation. I don't have an opinion on it because I don't know the facts, and I read all about it and looked at both sides of it. And there's going to be people who say, well, you know, it is what it is. Then there are going to be people who are going to put little comments on there like, yeah, well, that's what you get for being, you know, or who. One guy said, who cares? He's just a spick. It's not like he was a white guy, you know. And either they're trolling or ignorant or both, but the irrational behavior that people have and the negative things that they say stem from a negative self-outlook and a negative outlook on the world, which is developed through years of improper thinking. And that's really all it is. And it comes down to the debate I've had with people whether or not people are inherently good, or whether if anyone's given a chance they'll screw you over. And I can say, if you grew up in a place where you get ripped off a lot, or, you know, you have to lock your doors all the time at night, you're more likely to think people are bad. And if you grew up in a gated community, you're more likely to think people are good. But that's just generalizing. What it really takes is the individual seeking some sort of a knowledge and bettering himself or herself through awareness and education. Now, a person has to be well-rounded on all subjects, and this is the main point here. In order to be a person who can really draw good, balanced opinions on subjects, you have to have a worldview that is rounded on everything. So, you know, this is why often scientists have such a hard problem, is because they're so obsessed with their trade. They know everything about their science, but some other science conflicts it, but they just negate it because, well, they don't know about it, and they don't have the time to learn it. And for those of us who do seek these things, we know how long it takes to find them. I mean, it's a long, long search to find the truth behind something. And if something becomes a controversy, then it's even harder, you know. So people have this tendency to be negative, right? A lot of people, not everyone. On that note, the reason why it seems like there's so much negativity in the world is because we're programmed to recognize bad or irrational behaviors. And that's something that's inherent in our nature. Now, while I'm thinking about it, what it would be is we have the ability to see if someone's doing something wrong because it's built into our code or into our field, whatever, to tell us, hey, be aware, this person, you know, may be wary, something could be wrong. You know, it's an awareness. So when you hear about something, the fear factor kicks in. It makes you very aware because of what it is, right? Now, when you hear something positive, it makes you laugh, makes you smile, but it fades. And I think that that's also programmed into us, that we tend to forget not only some of the really bad times, but we forget a lot of the good times. It's not that we forget them, we just don't recognize them because they happen so much more often than the bad times. The entire time I'm sitting here making this video, I feel pretty good, you know. I'm not going to remember if that I was feeling good at this point in time in my life. But if all of a sudden I leaned over and broke my finger, I would remember that I was in pain. And I would always remember that. So if we apply that to day-to-day life with people in general, you're going to see the negativity. It's going to stand out to you. Now, this is where the individual comes in. And this is what I've been doing, is reprogramming your mind to not only turn that negativity into positivity, but to recognize the positive moments, to actually embrace and say, you're driving down the freeway, you're stuck in traffic, look up at the trees and say, I'm healthy, it's a sunny day, and there's a really nice bird up on that branch on the side of the road. Just something like that. It makes those points stand out more and more to where a person can start to embrace goodness. because being positive is not just some floaty, hippie mentality. Being positive takes work. It takes a lot of work, and I, anyone who just is positive all the time based on ignorance, that's different. Being positive out of self-reflection and development of the self is a completely different thing. It's where you're not just happy or because of what you're doing or for no reason, but you're happy because you're making yourself happy in every situation. Now, these people, these negative folks out there who have the hardcore anti-everything videos, TrueRae said that, she ran into a lot of that, and that's what happens to me. You get to YouTube, you get from subject to subject, next thing you know, you're in negativity central. Last year, when I first really got into YouTube, I made, some videos that were on that, kind of conspiracy realm, and I got, I'd have people, all kinds of controversy, and I just didn't want to deal with it. And because I was into some of that stuff, and I'll tell you, I can speak from the heart of someone who was into negativity, because I was there. I spent quite a few years of my life not negative or unhappy. I was always happy, but whenever I saw something I was suspicious, I was always waiting for martial law, or waiting for the solar flare to take out the grid, or something that was going to reboot society, because in my mind that was the only way that things were going to get better. And I held that mentality for probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I think I started getting into this stuff when I was about 18, 17, and until I was about 32, something like that. I was really into this whole stuff about, all right, bring on the disasters, bring on the end of the world. I'd have even gone so far as to type to people, say, hey, yeah, humans are a scourge, we need to be wiped out. We're garbage. We've screwed it up. It's our own fault. And when I look back on that now, I'm just like, wow, because I see people write that kind of stuff all the time on YouTube. And when I try to put something back like, hey man, that's not a good way to be, they get all over my case. And so to them, they're seeing me as someone ignorant who hasn't seen the light. But the reality is I'm someone who's already moved past that darkness into the real light. And when you jump the hurdle of fear into the real world, because the real world is positive, then you're living in the light of God, if that's what you believe in, or in the light of the universe, or the angels, or Lucifer, or whatever the hell you worship. It doesn't matter. The point is, if you worship anything at all, which I don't, but to each his own. When you get to that point where, every moment is a blessing, it's like, wow, you can only go up from here. And so you want to express this, right? And so you make videos. TrueRae makes videos. I meet her, and I've got, so many random subscriptions that I have that are all positive. And this is the key here. So when I was back into the other stuff, a lot of the suggestions were negative, because those are things that I'd watched. A lot of the videos were negative that I'd watched. A lot of videos that I'd made maybe were negative, or some of the ideas I had. And then of course you're going to get into that, and you're going to find those areas. Now I rarely come across anything about Planet X. When Nibiru kind of disappeared out of the picture, but or chemtrails, or I don't know, martial law, or any of that stuff. I don't get any of those videos. I never even get recommended them on YouTube. And I use YouTube as an example because that's where the community is of people who express themselves, and it's a completely different place. There's nothing like it. YouTube, I never, it can't be compared really to any other social networking site. It's completely, there are a lot like it. The point is that it's big, it's the original, and it works well. And I didn't use it for years because I thought, it's just a bunch of random stupid videos of people, home videos, which for a while it was. But, it's really changed. And so now we have a lot of people expressing what they feel. Now, the people who feel positive, they're expressing it. We have backup to prove our case, to say, hey, I choose positivity because it works, because it makes me feel better. Sorry, my nose is itchy. And the people who are negative choose negativity not because it works, because negativity never worked for anyone. Fear doesn't work for you. So what you have to do is a person who's into fear has to get really into fear to the point where it excites them. Maybe it releases adrenaline when they think about the shit hitting the fan. The brain goes through some strange chemical changes, and we are very malleable. We don't even realize how malleable we are because we grow into so many stages we never really see what affected us. And there haven't been enough studies done on, exactly what it is that, how we're affected by our environment. But a person who dwells on bad things will develop the part of their brain that further sees negativity and stuff. That's just how the brain works. It's there's a word for it. I can't remember what it is, but it's kind of like muscle memory, and your brain is developed that way. So you also have positivity the same way. If you wire your brain for goodness, then you'll have goodness. And this is where the work comes in, because and back to what I said about how positivity, a lot of people say, oh, you're just a hippie, you're not seeing the truth, you can't be happy all the time. Well, you can. It's just a matter of what you consider happy. If your expectations are too high of happiness, then you're going to fall short and you're going to be disappointed. I'm the kind of guy who never makes plans. I don't make plans for anything, and that way I'm never disappointed. That's not the reason, but that's one of the factors of it. It's nice. But I like to go with the flow, see what happens. Say, okay, tentative planning. And I have this idea that the world and the people in it belong here in every way, shape, and form. We totally fit. I mean, and I've had these debates with people where they say, we don't belong on this planet, I don't feel like I belong here, humans are a scourge, we should be wiped out, and it feels like my own brain echoing, and I feel like kind of an ass for even saying anything about it, because, oh, that's what I used to think, I have to let this person go through their own phases. But I hope I can nudge them towards the real light. And, these are things that I never thought I'd find in my lifetime, the essence of the middle ground and stuff like that. And it's a constant growing process. And when people don't want to grow, then they shut it out and choose negativity. Because negativity is so much easier to find. You can find any negative article you want. You can find how many people got killed and how many people were mugged, but you can't look up statistics on how many people were given dollars on the side of the road, or how many people smiled at each other on the freeway. I mean, I'm sure you could. You know what I'm saying. And I don't know how to convey the message about that, the negativity, and how it's seen so much more than the positivity. But once you start to think about what I'm saying and embrace that idea that, that the news is always negative. We know that, right? So, they'll always throw in like a random story about some guy that helped a puppy out of a well or something, and then everything else is about the disasters in the world. And by the way, disaster is an ancient word, and it's disaster. The meaning is unfavorable star. And it came from the idea that when something horrible happened, it was from the heavens, and it was a punishment, or whatnot. But a lot of these words we have, like disaster, come from that idea of astrology and astrological ideas. And this is how ancient people embraced their fear. Was, they figured out the statistics for it and the cycles and everything. And then now, today, we totally abandon all that. We abandon all the ancient cycles. We laugh at that stuff. We laugh at people who are positive. We laugh at people who, because they're too floaty or they're not real, people think. And then we laugh at people who are very intelligent but can't express themselves, or like nerds, whatever. We've cast everybody out of the circle, and I guess we've used our energy to embrace something that we shouldn't, which is fear. And you get that pit in your stomach sometimes when you're thinking about something, and it doesn't go away. And I don't get that anymore because I've been able to conquer it through willful effort, and nothing happens overnight. So a person could go online one morning and surf the web all day and basically know, every angle of the world of negativity online. Let's say, the big issues that people confront, whether they be legitimate or totally made up, and there's everywhere in between. But a person would be hard pressed to find all the good things to seek. You see what I'm saying? Although we see the negativity more often because it seems more prominent, the reality is we can fit all the negativity into this little ball. I mean, this and this and this, and there's this, and people die because of this, and people mug each other and this and that. But the positivity goes on and on. The sun is beautiful, and the sky, and the night sky, and the flower, and the pistils, and the flower, and the stamen, way down the stem to the leaves. The positive things, when you see it from that angle, completely outweigh the negative. I mean, look around you, for those who, believe in a balance of good and evil, or good and bad, or light and dark. That's all based on the idea that there is a that there's something bad or something to balance this out. Not everything has to have a balance, is what I'm saying. Some things just are. So if you went out in the woods, you'd be hard pressed to look around and find anything that's bad, right? And you go into the city and you look around, and you can find probably 20 things that you think are bad just by turning your head. And then think deeper about it. Why are these things bad? Okay, well, this is bad because it pollutes. The car's bad, let's say. But it's also good because it helps people. And it's also good because, it allows this and this and this, and allows people to move cargo, and we've been able to transport, The same thing with gasoline, I guess, would be the main point, It's harmful for the environment. It is, and it's not worth using. But my point is that you could find more favorable things than negativity. Maybe not. I guess maybe that's going too far. I think gas should be completely abolished, so that's a bad example. But you get the point of what I'm saying. That if you try to find the light side of something, there's many more facets than there are on the negative. So the more you adapt your life to thinking in a better way, these fears start to fall off, and then more and more facets develop. You start to see everything better. The negatives turn into positives. And, I just feel like I've kind of gone off on a tangent here because I really wanted to, just get to the basics about fear, because it's a killer. And I don't think that anyone who's involved in, the people I'm talking about, the people who are really into the shit and want to enjoy fear, I'd wonder if any one of them would watch this video this far, because I wouldn't have if I was into that kind of stuff. I would have got into it and said, oh, he's just ignoring the issues. And so to come full circle, that's what I wanted to say. It's because when TrueRae talked about, how the world issues, that was the thing. To what degree as humans are we responsible for these issues? To what degree should we actually act out and make an effort? And that's really, really tough question to answer. I mean, we could, you could work your ass off for your whole life, save as much money as you could, save it all up, and then take a cheap boat ride all the way over to Africa and build villages for your, the rest of your life, or as much as you could. I mean, you can do so many little things that would make a big difference, but they don't make as big of a difference as people think. So how do we make the big difference? Some people think you can just make donations to charities, and that's easy for them. I like the hands-on, and I think that Ray was right when she said act locally, and that's what I try to do. Buy from the farmers markets, you know, buy a locally made food, locally made stuff, clothing, and but at the same time, when I've thought about that really deeply, it makes me realize that how is that really helping anything? I mean, but I do it anyway because I try. But the idea is that yeah, we're helping our community, but there are other communities that are suffering, and so supposedly this is what taxes are for. You know, to balance it out and help everyone that needs it. And then we have people making these negative comments about, like, you know, this one guy was talking about he said, well, you know, the only reason the people in LA are rioting is because, he's like, yeah, the black people are rioting because they have, because none of them have jobs and they're all on Social Security and welfare and they get free phones and free everything from the government. He said maybe they should be looking for a job instead. And I said, dude, that's just fucked up. I mean, can I even respond to comments like that? You know, I understand, you know, the intensity behind what people say. You know, they feel strongly about something. Sometimes I make a comment that I shouldn't make, or make a video I shouldn't make. Maybe. I've never really pulled any of my videos, but I've made comments that I really regret, you know, in moments of passion, just like really into something, but but overall I try to keep it positive, and everyone kind of leans towards that. And to wrap it all up, I just found it really ironic that TrueRae had talked about, she mentioned that can anyone really not see color of a person, race? And she said, of course they can, you know, that the people who say that are, that they can't, or, you know, totally full of it. Because I've been thinking about that lately. I was talking with my wife 5 minutes before I watched her video about that exact thing. She said, you know, we were saying, can you really not see race? And I don't know. I think it depends on the individual and how programmed you are and how much you've programmed your brain to respond to certain things. But I propose these strange questions like, what if there was a black guy and a white guy, you know, walking up an alley towards you and they were both kind of haggard? Would you fear the black guy more? Now what if there's a black guy in a suit and then a white guy that was dressed all haggard and they were both walking up a dark alley next to you? You probably wouldn't fear the black guy because he's in a suit, right? Maybe. Or maybe you would because he's black and you wouldn't fear the white guy. It just depends on the person. Now what if you have okay, no more examples. You get what I'm saying though. That the individual circumstance is really determined, and I don't know, I think if a person gets exposed enough, then they wouldn't have a problem. We don't have black people in Portland, hardly at all. Hardly ever see them. So it's like when you do, it's not that I judge. I just say, oh, he's black. So of course I'm recognizing that he's black. And I think the trick is not to say I'm never going to see a person of color, because you can never do that, but you can not associate their color with any type of, you know, negativity. Because people see people and they have negative thoughts of what a person could be or would be. And it's really sad. So if we set our judgments aside and look at the world for what it is, and look at one another for who we are, and stop casting blame on everyone. And I don't know, I guess just love one another, you know. And that sounds really cheesy too. I know that there are people that watch my videos who would say, no, that's not cheesy at all. Love each other is obvious, but a majority of people would think it's strange, you know. Not everybody gives hugs. Not everybody's into peace and love and harmony and stuff. And I think this is why hippies were so marginalized, not just because of the drugs, but because of the idea that they were free, you know. They were free from the constraints of a society that had obscured our true nature and our true reason for existence, but not out of spiteful purpose. I mean, it's not, and that's not the issue. It's not whether they are holding us back. It's not whether they are hiding the truth from us, or they are not telling us what we need to know. It's that we need to start to seek more answers from within, because all the answers are found from within. Sure, the government can tell you that there's aliens, and the government can declare martial law, and the government can do this and do that and print money. But all that stuff just falls away. And you're left with yourself. You know? Work on yourself first before anything. You know? If a person wants to spend 10 hours researching negativity, they should do at least 1 hour soul searching. I mean, and they don't want to. And that's what I'm saying. It's not that a person isn't aware that there's a better life. It's that they don't want to put in the hours to actually do it. And so I'll leave you with that being positive takes more work than a person might think. I'm not going to say more work than being negative, because being negative is easier short term, but it's much harder long term, because you can't reinforce your ideals. But you can push them on others and make everybody else look stupid and make comments with very intelligent long words that make you seem like you learned so much in college. But in reality, if you're saying something negative to someone, or if you're making negative videos, you're doing nothing but contributing to the problem. And once in a while it's fine if it's important. Here's the key. If you're going to do something that's negative, or you're going to talk about something that's negative, please provide a solution, or at least your idea of a resolution. Because there's far too many people out there that are putting up, what's wrong, instead of, and failing to include in an hour-long video about what's wrong. They won't even put in a 1-minute segment, say, here's what we can do about it. Because that's not what people want. People want disaster. They want the shit to hit the fan. A lot of preppers have everything. Their bags are ready to go, and they're just like, bring it on. And I know it comes from deep within the brain. And I know that it's true because I felt that way at one time. But I've changed that, and life is much better now. So, I love you all, and before this video hits 30 minutes or whatever the hell it's at, I better go. Peace.